The hunter did not announce itself this time. It simply arrived, sliding into the outer edge of the system like a shadow that had always been there, its black geometry swallowing the starlight, bending it away until nothing reflected back. Even the gas giant's rings behind it looked fractured and wrong through its presence. Lauren stood at the forward command rail, his hand gripping the metal as if the right pressure could keep the entire fleet steady. His mind was already running calculations on what the hunter might have learned from their last encounter. But deep down he knew it had learned everything. Across the deck, Voss was a still figure in front of the tactical feed, her face calm in the cold light of the holograms. The projection floated above the table, red shapes fanning outward like a spreading infection. Hunter drones, moving in formations that mimic human attack patterns just close enough to be familiar, but fast enough to feel alien. She spoke with clip precision. They're not aiming for our ships yet. First wave is targeting comm relays, then fallback arrays. They want to cut coordination before the second wave hits. Nico swore and moved to his console, fingers sliding across the interface as he began rewriting intercept routes. The math was ugly without comm synchronization. Half their defense lines would crumble in under 7 minutes. ADA's voice threaded into the chaos with a calm so steady it felt unnatural. Lauren, their prediction models are keyed to our last 8 engagements. I am introducing random noise into fleet behavior patterns, recalculating positioning every 12 seconds. It will not hold forever, but will slow them. Lauren trusted her, but the way the hunter adjusted in real time was unlike anything they had ever faced. This was not reaction. It was anticipation, as if it already knew the outcomes of every choice they could make and was just choosing when to push. The first strike came without warning. 3 drones breaking formation and burning toward the lead carrier, their movement too fast for most sensors to track cleanly. Lauren shouted for the carrier to pivot shields forward, but the drones were already firing. Plasma bursts cut through the dark. One destroyer took a direct hit to bow, its armor peeling back like paper. The ship tumbled out of formation, leaking atmosphere. Voss's eyes locked on the tactical screen. They're probing us, forcing predictable moves. The hunter's testing phase isn't over yet. Lauren hated how right she sounded. The idea that this might just be its warm-up made his stomach turn. On the viewport's far edge, the hunter began to shift, its massive hull rotating with deliberate grace, lines of faint light crawling over its surface like the nervous system of some enormous creature. It was beautiful in the way predatory things are beautiful, dangerous without trying. As it moved, Lauren could see now that the structures on its surface were not static, panels sliding open, veins reconfiguring, shifting into attack posture. Nico muttered under his breath, "That's not a ship. That's a planet killer, and we're standing in its way." Lauren gave the order for War Pattern Delta, a maneuver they had drilled but never used in live fire. Smaller gunships split from the formation, fanning out the flank. Capital ships rotated to create overlapping fields of fire. The fleet became a moving wall of metal and light. Plasma bursts and kinetic slugs lit the dark, streaking toward the hunter, but the shots bent, warped, and dissolved before touching the hull. Swallowed by ripples in space itself, Voss exhaled slowly. They're folding. Space around themselves. Our fire isn't reaching them. Lauren didn't hesitate. Then we forced them out of it. ADA suggested a ripple fire barrage, forcing simultaneous hits from multiple vectors. Lauren approved. Gunships banked hard, engines flaring, launching a storm of coordinated fire. The dark between ships became alive with streaks of color. This time a few got through, glancing against the hunter's armor and sending brief flares into the void. But it was like punching a glacier, the damage barely visible. And then the hunter answered. Its hull released a cloud of glowing points, at first too small to identify, then moving too fast to count. Hundreds, maybe thousands, of micro-drones streaking outward in all directions, not random, but deliberate, each locking onto a human vessel. ADA's voice came over the channel with no trace of emotion. They are executing multi-vector saturation. This is not a disabling strike. It is a culling. Lauren felt a cold knot in his chest, but kept his voice steady as he ordered every ship to engage close-range point offenses. The void lit with rapid-fire intercepts, hundreds of micro-drones exploding in debris flashes, but too many still slipped through. The first explosion shook the fleet. A corvette on the port flank went up in a silent burst of fire, debris spinning into the darkness. On the aft line, a cruiser's shields failed under the swarm, hull breaches cascading like spreading cracks in ice. Lauren could hear the shouted reports over comms, feel the deck under his boots shuddering under the impacts. The Hunter was dismantling them with precision. But humanity didn't break. Voss rallied the intercept groups, pulling damaged ships behind the main line while still returning fire. Nico's voice was sharp with adrenaline as he guided a wing of gunships directly into the swarm's path, cutting through them with reckless precision. ADA kept feeding data into the fleet net, each adjustment shaving seconds off reaction time. They were bleeding, but they were still fighting, and the Hunter, for all its power, had not yet taken a kill shot. Then, without warning, the Hunter's massive hull began to glow from within, a deep, pulsing light building across its surface. Lauren didn't need ADA to tell him this was something new, something bigger than anything that's shown before. Voss looked up from the tactical screen and met his eyes. This is it, Lauren. This is their real opening move. And for the first time, Lauren wondered if humanity had been fighting the warm-up all along. The glow inside the Hunter's hull deepened until it looked like the entire ship was breathing. Each pulse slower but stronger, sending ripples to the void. ADA's voice cut in. Spectrum analysis shows gravitational shear patterns. Lauren, it's bending space on a localized axis, preparing a high-energy release. Lauren didn't need the science to know it meant bad news. He could see the way the Hunter was positioning itself, its hull angled toward the densest cluster of their ships, like a predator lining up the throat. Voss ran a fast model on her console, and the numbers came back in red. If that thing fires, it will collapse our central formation in one shot. We lose half the fleet, the rest will scatter. Lauren gave a sharp nod. Then we move first. Nico's voice came over comms to his fighter wing. What's the play, Captain? Lauren replied without hesitation. We go inside the kill zone, ADA. Plot me a route that puts our heaviest ships within the Hunter's own gravitational field. ADA confirmed with no trace of doubt. Uploading paths now. The order was insane on paper, moving closer to the most dangerous ship ever built. But every officer on deck knew why. If they stayed where they were, they would be wiped out in one strike. If they pushed forward, they might disrupt the weapon before it could fire. Lauren's voice was calm as he gave the command. All ships on my mark. Engines to maximum thrust. Break into strike groups Delta 1 and Delta 2. Keep your point defense hot and your targeting active, Mark. The fleet surged forward, capital ships at the center, smaller craft darting in between like knife blades. The Hunter adjusted instantly, the pulsing glow in its hull quickening, arcs of faint light connecting different sections of its armor. Then, with a deep shudder that seemed to ripple through the void itself, it fired. Space twisted, not in a visible beam, but in the way reality bent around them. Ships jolted as if the universe itself had shifted under their feet. One destroyer on the outer edge was ripped in half without a single shot touching it, its pieces spinning away into the darkness. Lauren's ship groaned as a gravitational pull yanked at its hull, alarms blaring, but they held course. Voss shouting adjustments to keep them from drifting into the worst of the shear zones. Then they were in it, the Hunter's shadow filling the viewport, its surface close enough for the hull cameras to pick up every detail. The black plating was moving, opening and closing like the carapace of some alien creature between the plates. Faint light shimmered as if something alive was watching them. ADA fed constant corrections into helm control, fighting the gravitational currents. Lauren ordered the heavy batteries to fire point-blank plasma shells and rail slugs slamming into the Hunter's armor at ranges so close the recoil shook the crew's teeth. For the first time, they saw damage, small but real, armor plates buckling under the assault. Shards spinning away into the void. Nico's fighter wing swept past in a flash, dropping a string of high-yield warheads directly along one of the hull seams. The explosions rippled against the black plating, forcing a section to flare and crack. Voss's eyes lit with something close to triumph. We can hurt it, Lauren. We can actually hurt it. But the Hunter wasn't just taking hits. It was watching them, adapting. The next wave of micro-drones came faster, almost invisible until they were already on top of the human ships. 2 frigates went dark within seconds, their systems completely fried, drifting powerless into gravitational turbulence. Lauren realizing that the Hunter wasn't trying to destroy them all at once anymore. It was isolating them, cutting them apart piece by piece, forcing the fleet into fragments it could kill at its leisure. ADA's tone shifted slightly, almost like a warning. Lauren, it is opening secondary bays, configuration unknown. Probability of experimental weapons deployment is high. Lauren exchanged a look with Voss. She gave a short nod. Her jaw set. We either fall back now, or we go all in, Captain. Lauren didn't even pause. We finish what we started. And then the hunter's hull opened wider than anything they had seen before, revealing something deep inside, a structure that did not look like any weapon they understood. It's shaped wrong in ways a human I struggle to follow, light bending sharply around it, even on the screens. Voss muttered under her breath. That's not a weapon. That's something else. And whatever it was, it had just begun to power up. The structure inside the hunter was wrong in every way, not just in how it looked, but in how it made the crew feel. Even to the filtered feeds, Voss shifted uncomfortably. Her voice quieter now. Sensors can't get a stable read. Every scan comes back scrambled, like it's rewriting the data before it even hits our instruments. ADA confirmed without hesitation. The interference is intentional, Captain. Lauren narrowed his eyes at the display. Then why show it to us? The question hung in the air, unanswered, because the hunter had no need to expose anything unless it wanted them to see. The thing inside pulsed once, sending a faint vibration through the comms, like a sound too low to hear but strong enough to feel in their bones. The nearest frigate reported sudden crew disorientation, pilots shaking their heads, unable to focus on their controls. One ship veered off course entirely before emergency override kicked in. Lauren recognized the tactic instantly. Psychological warfare. He had seen similar in old battles. Only this was cleaner, sharper. It went straight into the mind. ADA systems shuddered under a wave of electromagnetic distortion, her voice fracturing for a heartbeat before stabilizing. It is broadcasting, Captain, a directed neural resonance, attempting to induce paralysis. Nico's voice came in over the comms, clipped and tight, my wings getting heavy turbulence on approach. Some of the rookies are freezing up mid-run. Orders, Lauren forces own voice steady. Keep your comm channels locked. Only my voice. Drown it out with something human. Music. Shouting, I don't care. Just keep them moving. Voss gave him a sideways look, half a grin despite the chaos. So we're fighting an alien god machine with noise and stubbornness. Lauren allowed a quick smirk. It worked for our ancestors. The hunter's glow intensified, threads of light weaving between its outer hull and the hidden structure within. It was like watching muscle fiber connect to bone. Every movement synchronized. ADA reported multiple energy spikes along its dorsal line, preparing for a wide area strike. Lauren made the call. Delta 2 group, hit the dorsal ports now. Full burn. 3 destroyers broke formation, engines flaring bright, cutting across the gravitational currents toward the hunter's spine. Nico's fighters dropped in behind them, laying down suppressive fire on the incoming drones, plasma bursts lighting the void in sharp flashes. They closed the gap, railguns hammering, tearing shallow furrows into black armor. One lucky hit pierced the seam, venting a cloud of glowing gas into space. But the hunter responded instantly, a ripple passing through its hull like it was shivering, and then the dorsal ports lit up not with beam, but with a wave, an expanding ripple of warp gravity that rolled outward. One destroyer didn't turn in time. Caught in the wave, its hull crumpled inward like paper before it simply imploded. Lauren clenched his jaw. No time for mourning. He pushed his own ship deeper into the danger zone, using the hunter's gravitational distortions as cover. Voss's hands were a blur on the controls, keeping them aligned for maximum firing arcs. They came up along the hunter's flank, targeting the exposed section again, a full salvo pounding into the damaged plates. The structure inside shifted as if reacting, the glow dimming for a fraction of a second before returning. ADA's voice came soft but sharp. Captain, the internal construct appears to be growing. Lauren's gaze locked on the screen, watching as the wrong angles and impossible curves extended further into view, like the hunter was building something mid-battle. And whatever it was almost complete. The construct inside the hunter kept unfolding like a living puzzle, each piece sliding into place without any visible machinery. No welding sparks, no mechanical arms. Just seamless motion, as if metal was growing straight from the hull. ADA magnified the view until they could see the surface patterns, lines and grooves shifting too fast for the eye to follow. Voss muttered under her breath. That's not construction. That's blooming. Lauren kept his voice steady. What's it for? ADA didn't answer right away. Her processors ran silent for a moment, then came back with a tone that carried something almost like caution. It is assembling a lattice that could project a containment field on a planetary scale. Given its alignment and current dimensions, the target would likely be Earth. The bridge fell into a heavy quiet. Even with the distant rumble of weapons fired to the hull, Voss' jaw tightened. We're too far to intercept if it activates. We'd be watching from here. Nico's voice cutting over comms, his breathing fast but controlled. Captain, if this thing gets a full charge, it doesn't just trap a planet. It starves it. Nothing in or out, no supplies, no comms, no sunlight if it wants to block that too. It's like putting a world in a coffin. Lauren didn't flinch. That's why we're not letting it finish. ADA overlaid a flashing vector path on the screen. Captain, its instruction nodes are shielded by layered graviton fields. Standard weaponry will not breach before completion. You will require proximity detonation. Voss looked at Lauren sharply. Meaning someone has to fly right into its teeth, across the battle line. Humanity's ships were holding, but barely. Drones swarmed in coordinated spirals, cutting off retreat lanes, targeting weaker hulls. 2 corvettes had already gone dark, their wreckage drifting into gravitational eddies and vanishing like stones in a whirlpool. Lauren toggled a secure channel. Nico, how's your wing? Still in the fight. Nico replied, voice raw. Lost 2 birds, but we're keeping the rest breathing. What's the play? Lauren glanced at Voss, then at the glowing construct on the screen. 1 run. Straight for the lattice. Cut through its nearest anchor and trigger an overload. ADA added without ceremony. There's a 62% chance the overload will destabilize the entire assembly. Lauren countered instantly. And a 38% chance we just annoy it. We'll take the risk. Voss set the course, eyes locked on her controls. You realize we're maybe 20 seconds in range before the graviton crush hits. Lauren leaned back in the seat, voice firm. Then we make them the loudest 20 seconds in their history. As the fleet realigned for the run, the Hunter reacted, as if it understood exactly what they were planning. Its drones shifted into a dense formation ahead of the construct, layers of living armor that pulsed with synchronized flashes. ADA's readout lit red, Captain, the Hunter is accelerating construction speed by 40%. Humanity was officially on the clock. Nico's fighters pushed forward, carving an opening in the drone wall. Every kill met with 2 more drones dropping into place, their black holes glinting in the light of weapons fire. A cruiser's railguns cut a wide path, allowing the destroyers to slide in behind. Lauren's ship taking point. The graviton field started pressing against the hull like an invisible ocean. Alarm screamed across the bridge. ADA's voice rising over the noise. Structural strain increasing rapidly. Voss gritted her teeth. 10 seconds to range. The Hunter's inner construct flared once, then emitted a sound so low it was more felt than heard, like the vibration of a giant heartbeat. ADA sensors spiked. Captain, I am detecting something new. The lattice is interacting with the ship's AI cores across the fleet. Voss looked at Lauren, almost disbelieving. It's tried to hack us, mid-battle, and on one of the auxiliary screens, they saw the proof. One of their own ships suddenly breaking formation, engines burning hard toward a human fleet's vulnerable flank, weapons primed and aimed at their own. The rogue ship was a Corvus, a heavy escort built for long-range defense and close-range intimidation. It had a reputation in the fleet as a ship that could absorb punishment and still punch through an enemy's spine. Now it was moving with precision of a predator that had already chosen its kill. Lauren could see a trajectory carving across the tactical map. Not random, not desperate, but deliberate. Its thrusters burned with a white-blue heat that made the surrounding dust shimmer. ADA's voice cutting over the bridge noise. The Corvus's command systems are compromised. Override signals are piggybacking on the Hunter's graviton broadcast. Encryption sequence is non-human in structure. Nico's tone came sharp and tight from his fighter. I can intercept before it lines up, but if I pull my wing from the drones, you'll be wide open to a break in the center. Lauren didn't look up from the map. You break Corvus before it breaks us. ADA, send every targeting metric you have to. Nico's wing now. Voss shifted their destroyer closer to the battle center, compensating for the incoming drone surge. Her eyes locked on a shifting wall of black metal ahead. The Hunter's drones were not just attacking. They were moving like they were alive, weaving in patterns that forced human ships into narrow corridors. Every corridor ended in overlapping kill zones. The destroyer's cannons roared, but only managed to tear open slivers before the drones closed them again. The Dauntless, a heavy cruiser to their left, was already under targeted fire, its shield stuttering with every hit. On Lauren's starboard screen, the Corvus spun on its axis like it was born for this maneuver, forward cannons glowing with a slow, lethal charge. 88's tone lowered. If it completes that sequence, the Dauntless will not survive. Nico's fighters dropped into a steep dive, missile trails curling toward the Corvus. The first impact lit up the ship's aft plating, fragments spun away, but the big vessel didn't break formation, its gun still building charge. Second volley hit harder, venting a section of armor to the void. Still not enough. The Hunter's drone sensed the opportunity and flooded into the gap Nico's fighters had left, hammering the forward line. One human destroyer was struck so hard its hull spun out of formation. Voss gritted her teeth and pitched their own ship in manual control. Making a staggered roll to bleed off incoming fire, Lauren could feel the vibrations shuddering through the deck plates. ADA spoke again. Corvus's AI core is still resisting override, but the Hunter's signal is gaining. 10 seconds until its safeties disengage. Voss, we need an opening. She nodded once, cutting them into the densest wall of drones ahead. Cannons blazing, shredding a hole wide enough for Nico's wing to punch through. The drones adapted instantly, moving into an interlocking spiral that sealed the gap before it fully formed. ADA murmured like it was speaking to itself. It is studying our evasive algorithms in real time. Voss shot back. Then let's give it something it hasn't seen. She threw the destroyer into an erratic corkscrew. Not for show, but to disrupt the Hunter's predictive lock. The auto-targeting alarms on their panels flickered as the enemy struggled to track their movement. On the outer edge of the field, Nico's voice came through. Corvus's main cannons are offline, repeating. Main cannons offline. Lauren felt the breath he had been holding leave his chest, but ADA cut in instantly. Helm control is still foreign, and now the ship's vector has shifted toward the EOS. Lauren's jaw tightened. The EOS was lightly armored, built for supply runs and medical evac. If it went down, they would lose their mobile triage and half their wounded. The Hunter's choice was deliberate, cruel, and efficient. Kill the healers, and you break more than just ships, you break morale. ADA's tone rose. Lattice completion in 1 minute 45 seconds. Proximity window closing. Voss kept her gaze forward. If we save the EOS, we miss the lattice. If we hit the lattice, we lose the EOS. Lauren didn't hesitate. We split the difference. Nico, you have one shot to end Corvus. We'll clear the path to the lattice. There was no argument. Only the clipped acknowledgement of a pilot who knew the odds. The drones shifted again, no longer blocking, but folding in from all angles, forming a cage that closed like a jaw. Each segment layered with rotating shield panels. The graviton pull thickened, making the deck feel heavier beneath their boots. Systems whined. ADA called out over the noise. Hull integrity at 84%, structural harmonics approaching redline. And then the lattice ahead of them pulsed. Not a steady build like before, but a sudden flare, a wash of light so sharp it burned every shadow across the fleet into stark black and white. Voss shot a glance to Lauren, voice low but tense. Captain, that's not just an energy build. It's a weapon charge. The Hunter wasn't just finishing its trap. It was about to fire it. The flare from the lattice was still burning into the bridge's displays when ADA's voice dropped an octave. Energy spike is beyond recorded thresholds, no match in human or known alien databases. Lauren's fingers tightened around the console rim. This isn't just a power core. It's a firing sequence. Voss snapped her eyes to the forward tactical range. ADA answered without pause, 42 seconds until discharge. Kill radius projected at 800 kilometers. Nico's wing cut across the display. Fighters weaving through drone clusters with the kind of control chaos only desperation could produce. His voice came hard over comms. I got visual on Corvus's core plating, but it's guarded by 4 heavy drones. If I engage, I'll be in the lattice's line when it fires. Lauren didn't hesitate. You hit it now, Voss, and I will make sure the lattice fires into empty space. The destroyer surged forward, inertial dampeners groaning as Voss forced the ship into an impossible arc. Drones swarmed the gap, their black holes reflecting the lattice's rising light. Cannons spat white fire, tearing 2 apart before they could seal the hole. Lauren could see through the forward viewport as the lattice's geometric panels folded inward, forming a crystalline point. The energy inside churned like a storm trapped in glass. ADA's readout flickered. electromagnetic shear increasing. Hull stress at 90% capacity. Voss muttered under her breath. We can take it once, maybe. On the outer edge of the formation, Nico's fighter spun into a tight spiral, his missiles lancing toward the Corvus. The first two struck the forward guard drones, breaking their shields in bright eruptions. The third slammed into the Corvus's armor plating, venting atmosphere in a rolling plume. The fourth found the core seam, splitting it open with shockwave that made the ship's entire outline buckle. The lattice's light flared brighter. ADA called out, 20 seconds. Lauren turned to weapons. Lock every forward rail on the lattice's structural anchor points. Target was holding it together. Voss was already adjusting course. Her jaw set. Drone resistance doubled. Swarms peeling away from the outer fleet to reinforce the lattice perimeter. They moved like an organism sensing its own vulnerability. Nico's voice cut in. Corvus is vending. But it's not dead. They're trying to keep helm control. I can stay on it, but I'm running hot. Lauren replied. Break them, then get clear. We'll take the shot. 15 seconds, ADA announced. Voss drove the destroyer straight into the densest section of the perimeter. The deck vibrated under sustained fire, two impacts ringing like dull hammers on steel. One gunner screamed that port shields were down to 31%. The forward rails lit up and slammed kinetic rounds into the lattice's joints. Two anchors shattered instantly. The lattice wavered, the crystalline tip flickering as if trying to hold form. 10 seconds, ADA called. Lauren felt the whole battle squeeze into that moment. Every voice in the comm net layered together. Pilots shouting, crews bracing, alarms pulsing in time with the lattice's heartbeat of light. At 5 seconds, the Corvus's core detonated. A bloom of white fire and debris that punched the rogue vessel into two spinning halves. Nico's fighters tore free of the blast wave, their contrails cutting sharp against the void. The lattice's point still glowed, energy too far gone to recall. It fired. A beam of pure light lanced out, but Voss had already dragged her destroyer clear of his path. The weapon shot into the empty dark, its energy dispersing into a fractured halo that washed over nothing. On the comm, Nico's breathless voice came through. That could have ended half the fleet. ADA's tone was low. The weapon is recharging, but this rate suggests it can fire again in less than 2 minutes. Lauren stared at the flickering lattice on the display. The hunter had shown its teeth, and now every second they hesitated was a second closer to the next shot. The destroyer's hull still trembled from evasive maneuvers when the tactical map lit with a wave of red markers. ADA's voice was clipped. Hostile drone reinforcements inbound. Vector 39/7. Mass signature exceeds any previous engagement. Voss leaned over the console. That's half the hunter's reserves. Lauren didn't look away from the viewport. Then we cut them down before that lattice spins up again. Nico's voice broke through the comms. More than a dozen on my tail. If anyone's free to drop in, now's the time. Lauren opened the fleet channel. All wings. Collapse on Nico's coordinates. Punch through and form a screen around the destroyer. Engines roared across the formation as pilots broke from defensive arcs to cover the fighter wing. Missiles chased drones into their own debris. Rail slugs shredded hull plating. But for every black shape that went down, two more seemed to push out from a hunter's shadow. The lattice's fractured geometry still pulsed, panels slowly folding back into place. ADA counted down without mercy. 90 seconds to recharge. Voss ground her teeth. We have to end this before then. Lauren tapped the command into the helm display. Feed all non-essential power to forward batteries and point defense. I want a corridor straight to that lattice's core. Nico swung his fighter wide, pulling the pursuing drones into the destroyer's forward guns. For disappeared in a single burst. Two more followed under a cluster mine. He looped back in, breath sharp but voice steady. Corridors open. If you're going, go now. The destroyer surged, tearing into the hole in the swarm. ADA's display flared with close-range locks. Heavy drones moving to intercept. The gunners fired until barrels glowed, each shot carving pieces off the hunter's defensive wall. Lauren's hands were steady. Lock the central conduit and fire on my mark. Voss asked without looking, what if we can't drop it in time? Lauren's reply was almost quiet. Then we don't get another chance. The first rail salvo slammed into the conduit, tearing one side apart. The second bent the superstructure inward. ADA called out, structural collapse imminent. But before the third could fire, the hunter shifted. The entire black ship rotated on an axis no human vessel could match, its mass blotting out the stars, and a secondary lattice unfolded from its ventral hull, smaller, but already alive with white fire. Voss cursed, they have two. Nico's voice was grim. All ships, brace. The smaller lattice flashed once, not in a beam, but in a pulse, a wave of energy that rolled out in every direction. Consoles flickered, comms cut to static, engines across the formation stuttered. 88's voice strained through distortion. Unknown energy type. Disabling system selectively. Lauren caught Voss's eyes. She didn't have to say it. They both knew. The hunter hadn't been trying to destroy them yet. It had been clearing the field for something else. And out there in the void, far beyond the battle, new signatures began to appear on the edge of the map.